All right, guys, we have one more position to evaluate in our buy low, sell high series. And while this video will be short, it will be sweet. It certainly was not easy to make. This is one of the more difficult positions to evaluate in both fantasy football and the NFL. So as always, like the video, comment what you think of the list down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and guys, cue that intro. Welcome back into Twin Takes Fantasy Football, and today we are continuing our off-season content with another installment in our Buy Low series. Today, the last position to evaluate fantasy football is going to be quarterbacks. And honestly, like I said in the intro, it's a little bit harder it was really hard to script this video just because when it comes to the fantasy value, people have gotten a lot smarter in recent years, especially with the dual threat quarterbacks, with the rushing upside quarterbacks. And I feel the market prices when it comes to quarterbacks are pretty fair, and it's harder to identify buy low, sell high candidates in comparison to quarterbacks in other positions. But we still brought together a list of 5 quarterbacks that, whether you're in rebuild mode and building for the future, or if you want to win right now, these are the quarterbacks that you should be targeting. And let's dive into that list right now. The first is a guy that has flown under the radar potentially his whole career, and definitely a must buy if you are in a win now mode. That's going to be Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff. Now, this guy has all the things trending in the right direction for him. In 2022, last season, he was a top 10 quarterback for fantasy football. He proved on the field that he could facilitate a really dynamic offense. And that offense was top 5 in offensive efficiency, as well as top 5 in points scored. You know what that means? Points scored translates to points in fantasy, especially at the quarterback position. So Jared Goff showing us that he had the ability to facilitate that was really good, and he led to some really, really dominant fantasy football weeks over the course of last season. It wasn't just, consistent 20-point games. He had some 30-point games in there as well, some week-winning weeks. Something that, we've probably beaten to death on this channel is just the absolute offensive genius of offensive coordinator Ben Johnson when it comes to the Detroit Lions. He was a guy that, people really tout as a young offensive mind. He was getting head coaching looks this past offseason, but decided to turn down head coaching positions and interviews in order to return to Detroit and build something special that he felt was going to be with the Detroit Lions this season. Obviously has very good familiarity with Jared Goff and some of the weapons he brought in. Obviously, they made a great investment in the draft, adding to weapons for Jared Goff in both Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, as well as Sam Laporta at the top of the second round. So, there's buy-in from the team, there's buy-in from the offensive coordinator, and, he's not even that old. He's a guy, especially when you look at the quarterback life cycle, he's in his prime. Even in Dynasty, he might be great this year. He doesn't have an extension next year, but apparently the offseason conversations is that there's contract extension talks in the works. I don't know how real or phony those headlines are, but at least for this season, you're going to have a bona fide quarterback tied to one of the more dynamic offenses in the NFL, and he should generate tons of fantasy points, especially if you're looking at a super flex league. He's going to be a top tier quarterback too. I've seen people acquire Jared Goff for the 110 rookie pick, late first round rookie picks in a super flex league, and I think that's well worth the investment if you need a quarterback to compete this year. Moving on, this is more of a rebuilding one. So we did buy a win now one. We're gonna go to a rebuilding one, and a guy that I am a massive fan of, and I did put my money where my mouth was. I went out and I acquired him in a massive blockbuster deal, trading away Garrett Wilson for a boatload of draft picks plus Jordan Love. I think this is a guy that's severely underrated in fantasy circles right now. You look at his head coach in Matt LaFleur, a guy that's considered an offensive guru, comes from the Sean McVay tree. He also kind of, after people were thinking Aaron Rodgers was done, after that Mike McCarthy wasted Aaron Rodgers' talent, Matt LaFleur came in and absolutely revived Aaron Rodgers' career, led him to back-to-back MVPs, and I think he's going to have the same mental capacity to, build a system for Jordan Love to thrive. When Jordan Love did take the field in 2022, he had just a couple moments of brilliance. And that's what you're looking for. This is the same. I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, but when you look at Patrick Mahomes' rookie season, when he comes in, at the end of game 17. You're looking for, the acumen that he can put it together, that he can lead an NFL offense, that he's not going to struggle in an NFL game. And we saw essentially moments of brilliance when Jordan Love did take the field, and that he's going to not look like a fish out of water when he's thrust in as a starter in 2023. When we look at the NFC, it's going to be a weak schedule. I don't think there's going to be a lot of defenses harassing him outside of the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers, especially within the division. Vikings, Lions, and Bears all have absolutely horrific defenses, so should be plenty of easy fodder for Jordan Love to tear up with all of his weapons around him. I mean, and we look at, the capital that the Packers went out and invested in Jordan Love. He was a first-round draft pick. They've kept him on. They've, given him significant investment from the Packers. So we look at some of the guys that have been moved on from in the quarterback position recently. Yeah, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, potentially after this season. Those are all guys that didn't have a significant investment. Jordan Love does have that first-round draft capital and is going to be given a legit shot by the Green Bay Packers to succeed. It's not going to be, a guy that if he struggles in the first few games, he won't be taken off. He will probably be given the whole season, if not more, to show if he's competent at leading this team. He's really a heck of a shot. Maybe not in a single quarterback league. You have a lot more solidified options to take, but in a super flex league, this is a guy that, still quite young, age 24, got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years and study him and, look at the way that he dissected defenses, the way that he did reads, the way that, he was an elite play action guy behind from the shotgun. So hopefully these are all tips that Jordan Love picked up on, and still, while being very, very young, he has the potential to have a very long career if he can put it all together up there in Green Bay. And, the conversation that I've had a lot with a lot of people in the fantasy community is Trey Lance versus Jordan Love. And people are saying that they would give up Jordan Love plus for Trey Lance at this moment and to buy low on Trey Lance. I can't really fathom that, because Jordan Love has been guaranteed a starting spot for 2023. Trey Lance was frankly being almost got traded away, except there was no trade market for him during the draft. And there's been reports that he's going to be third string behind both Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold when the 49ers start their season in 2023. So if you have someone that's still very, very high on Trey Lance, ship him off your team. Go get Jordan Love. A much, much better bet when you're looking at guys to invest in a Superflex league going forward. All right, moving on. We'll hit the other side of that seesaw, go back to a guy that's, definitely a win now mode, and it's going to be Matthew Stafford, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. And how quickly the mighty have fallen, how quickly people forget how good of a quarterback Matthew Stafford was through all of those absolutely horrific teams that he played with in Detroit. And, only 2 years ago, he was a top 5 quarterback with the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, injuries ruined his season last year, but, he's coming back. He said he feels a lot better. He says the elbow is 100% healed. And very easy path with the same head coach, with the same number one offensive weapon in Cooper Kupp, for him to hopefully recreate even 95% of that top 5 quarterback season would be an absolute win for Matthew Stafford. Still has his wide receiver in Cooper Kupp, and I don't understand all the hubbub being made about Cooper Kupp's injury. He actually quite easily could have come back after 3 or 4 games, but the Rams had kind of given up on the season last year, so they took all of their injury-riddled players, whether it was a Stafford, whether it was a Kupp, just told them to sit in the sideline and get healthy, and they're going to run it back in 2023, and here they are. They're back, hopefully to full strength. They made a significant investment in the offensive line, which is a massive struggling point for the Rams last season, but they drafted Steve Avila. They bring in some offensive line talent in free agency, so hopefully gives Matthew Stafford a little bit more time to throw to his weapons. We have to actually analyze some of the defensive moves that the Rams made. They got rid of Jalen Ramsey, one of their best defensive players, and it's just going to lead, while maybe more frustrating for Rams fans, maybe not as, it's obviously a detriment losing Ramsey to the Rams. However, it's great for us fantasy football players because we love to target offenses that are very dynamic. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Cam Akers is going to be a dynamic offense, but they're also tied to bad defenses. And guess what? When you're giving up a lot of points, which I really anticipate the Los Angeles Rams defense to do this year, you're going to have to put up a lot of points. You're going to have to throw the ball. You're going to have to take deep shots. You're going to have to put up, you're going to have to try to compete some way. Matthew Stafford is a competitor. He's a guy that's going to go out and sling the ball. So the overall step back that the defense has taken in Los Angeles is going to be a really good for Matthew Stafford's fantasy production in 2023. He's a great buy cheap option for this year. In a super flex, if you're looking at a guy that if you can get him for a second rounder plus, I'm willing to take that shot on a quarterback. Quarterbacks are just so value in those types of leagues, and getting a guy that has the potential and has been a top 5 quarterback just 2 seasons ago for less than a first rounder is an absolute steal. Moving on, pendulum win now, going back to rebuild. And a guy that I think is going to be a long shot, but, for how cheaply you can acquire him, why not take the shot on Sam Howell? And we talk about how cheap is Sam Howell? He could frankly be on your waiver wire right now. You can go out, pick him up off your waiver wire for absolutely free. You don't have to talk about, getting into nasty trade conversations. I know trades can be emotionally, mentally, physically draining with how stubborn some league mates can be. But Sam Howell, this man could be just sitting on your waiver wire, so you don't even have to deal with that. After his junior year, he was a projected number 1 overall pick, not just a first round pick, but number 1 overall pick. He had a really rough senior year at the University of North Carolina, but I don't think we should completely overlook the production he put up with some of his weapons in his junior year. He lost a lot of his weapons. He lost a significant amount of his offensive line. He was absolutely just completely harassed by defenses the entirety of his senior season. Obviously caused him to fall to the 5th round where the Commanders scoop him up. But I think, we're still looking at a guy that had the talent to be talked about in the same breath of a first overall pick at the quarterback position. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking at this guy, despite the 5th round draft capital. He did come out, same way we talked about with Jordan Love. He comes out, shows competency at the NFL level, shows that he can go out and lead an NFL offense, that he can complete NFL caliber throws. He had moments of brilliance against the Cowboys last year in one of the final games of the season. They put him out there against one of the best defenses, in my humble opinion, in the NFL, and he absolutely looked not only calm, cool, and collected, but above average when it came to dissecting the defense, delivering the ball to his weapons. And that's something that was really positive for Sam Howell in my mind. He does have also a ton of great weapons around him to make him look good. You're looking at Antonio Johnson coming back, Brian Robinson at the running back position, but he is one of the better, really an underrated wide receiver core there in Washington. Jahan Dotson is just an absolute dude. I'm a huge fan of Jahan Dotson, a guy that, should be in everyone's conversations, the top 24 wide receiver. Terry McLaurin, obviously a top 15 wide receiver for fantasy right now. When you have a dynamic duo of wide receivers like that, plus the versatility that a Curtis Samuel can add to the offense. I'm just looking at all the weapons around him, and he has so many options to help him, make him look good and help him accumulate fantasy points. So for how cheap he is and the fact that he's gotten a guaranteed starting job promised him by Ron Rivera, I mean, you look at guys like people are, again, I hate to be the guy that rains on Trey Lance's parade. And listen, don't get me wrong, I'm not rooting against the guy. I would love for Trey Lance to go out, show us all that show me that I was wrong, go out and absolutely ball out. But I'm just looking at, the history, the injury, the current situation with the 49ers. He's not guaranteed to ever start again. Sam Howell's guaranteed to start this season, at least for half the season. So, you're getting guaranteed production and guaranteed a starter in Sam Howell for insanely cheap. And it wouldn't be a buy low video. I wouldn't be doing myself respect as a fantasy analyst if I didn't talk about Kyler Murray, because frankly, this is going to be the absolute cheapest you will ever be able to acquire Kyler Murray right now as he deals with the offseason ACL rehab. Again, I am aware I don't really have to talk. It's incredibly obvious. Competing teams are going to get rid of Kyler Murray. He cannot immediately contribute. He's going to be rehabbing from the ACL for at least half the season, but the talent is still there. The undeniable cheat code at fantasy that Kyler Murray is, he is still there. He's still going to come back and hopefully have, if he has just 80% of the wheels and the legs that he had previous to this injury, that's still, a top 3 rushing quarterback in the NFL. And maybe, just maybe, it convinces Kyler Murray to develop his pocket passing a little bit more and not rely on scrambling so much, and overall improves him as a quarterback. So again, if he's on a rebuilding team, it'll probably be very, very hard to take him away. But, if you're a rebuilding team and you can forego this year, you're not looking to compete and you're just looking to accumulate assets going to the future that are going to gain value, you're looking for positive return on investment, guaranteed return on investment, that represents Kyler Murray. And if you can give some guys that are maybe a little bit older, but guaranteed production for the 2023 season to a competing team for Kyler Murray, I would absolutely be willing to make that trade. So I know there's a little bit of concern with the uncertainty of the Cardinals with how bad they're going to be this year. There has been talk of rebuilding the program through a Caleb Williams and shipping off Kyler Murray, but just with the contract they gave him last offseason, a $49 million contract, somewhere around there, and the guaranteed money that is in his contract, they can't just cut him. Otherwise, they would be absolutely submarining their entire team. So if they do go with the Caleb Williams route, they would have to be trading Kyler Murray somewhere, and not only trading him somewhere, but no one's trading for that contract to be a backup. They're going to be trading for Kyler Murray to be their franchise quarterback. It would be the same thing as, not technically the same thing, but it's like, when Kirk Cousins went and signed with the Minnesota Vikings, yes, it was 6 seasons into his career and he went on to a new team, but they were making that investment in him as a franchise quarterback. Whatever team gets Kyler Murray in 2024, whether it is the Arizona Cardinals or another team entirely via trade, they're making that investment in him as their franchise quarterback. And again, he still has a long career ahead of him. He's only 25 years old, and this will be the cheapest he will ever be, barring another injury. And if he does have another injury, then probably he's just his career might be over, unfortunately. But as far as buying a productive Kyler Murray, this will be the cheapest it will ever be. So that's going to wrap up the video. Some 5 quarterbacks for you guys to mill around in your mind, whether you're competing now or whether you're trying to rebuild, target one of these quarterbacks. I think, especially in Superflex, they're incredible shots to take. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this list. If you think I was wildly wrong on one of my opinions, I'm sure I would love to hear all the Trey Lance hate in the comments. And if you like Trey Lance, probably don't watch the next video when I talk about sell high quarterbacks. But until then, take care, guys.